Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending Unify Teams with Zoho Connect, brought to you by Nicholas.
And hello, everyone. This is Nicholas speaking, and I'm really happy to be able to sit here and talk to you about the topic of how we can unify teams via a social internet platform. Right. In this case, we are looking at Zoho Connect. So in today's day and age, and the way we work, remote work is nothing new to us. Right. We get to see our colleagues in real time over the screen, just like what we are doing right now. Right. But today's topic, we want to talk about how we are able to bring collaboration up a notch. Right. So during the demo sessions, I will be highlighting angles such as the benefits of Zoho Connect, as well as versus how it is compared to other chat messenger, right? So what is the benefits of Zoho Connect, and why operating on it is super beneficial for your team's collaboration. So moving on, right? We want to talk a little bit about the current observation of workplace. Okay, so as we know, expectations of work are evolving. Okay, especially in recent, like we're seeing pandemic, right? Actually changing things, right, and putting things into perspective for us. So, for example, we are seeing work becoming more dynamic and agile, right? So, in a sense, we're saying goodbye to the 9 to 6 arrangements over here, right? Definitely, we are seeing work becoming more flexible. Ideas are coming in from all angles, in fact, from any time, right? So we are seeing collaboration, in a sense, becoming more inclusive these days. Now, point two is also work is becoming more remote and local, right? In this sense, just like what we are doing, right? We are conversing over a video feed. So work is becoming more remote. That is a definite, and it is not bounded by any boundaries right now, right? So we are no longer limited to just time zones and geographies anymore, right? We are now able to connect with our different regional counterparts, okay, with our different teammates, even when they sit, 1,000 miles across, right? We are able to do so as long as we have internet connection. So that is the value of, having digital platform these days. And with that being said, I do also want to touch on the point of work becoming more mobile first. Okay, by that, it is also essentially being more content first. Why is, you may be commuting, one example here, okay, you may be commuting by train, by bus, and inspiration strikes you, right? You want to be able to document your work and your thoughts in a place where it is, one, accessible by everyone, two, you can readily share this with your teammates, right? So by that being said, okay, it is highly important if you want your teammate to be able to get that first-hand experience of your thought process, right? So definitely the mobile first approach is super important in this case. Last but not least, we talk about user enablement at work, right? Being able to equip your employees with the right tool, the right digital tool, right? So they kind of facilitates the process between the front staff as well as your back end staff, right? So these are some points that we have seen in the current workplace these days. So moving on, I just want to ask a quick question here. Okay, does any one of us interact or connect with these 3 different groups, right? If you do so, please leave a yes in the comment, right? So do we connect with our freelancers, office permanent staff, as well as our intern? Okay, so one thing I do want to point out here is all of them clearly have different needs, okay, and different ways of collaborating, right? Especially when we're working in a work from home environment. So the task as well as the communication flow, in a sense, becomes less visible. So how do we then manage our work with these 3 groups at the same time? That's a question we want to keep at the back of our mind, in which we'll also touch on in a little while during the demo. So the less ideal situation here, you can see, so this is where the stress builds up, right, and miscommunication actually happens. An example that I've shown here is, freelancer communicating via email, and then the office permanent staff via WhatsApp, and then the interns coming in from your Telegram. Now, clearly conversations are holding up in different areas. Now, that can cause miscommunication if, you lack coordination work, right? So how do we maintain channels on different platforms, right? This is something that we want to tackle, and especially something that social internet is able to help us with. Okay, we don't want to be caught in this situation. So finally, moving on to social internet. Now, this term has been around for the longest time. In fact, in a social internet, you must be able to run announcements, create posts, launch engagement activities, pretty much talk to your staff and everyone in a centralized portal, right? It kind of streamlines your communication for you. So having said that, all these features that you see on the screen right now, it should be able to get you the visibility of all activities, as well as, set a little bit of context with the task at hand. So we talk about being more connected, right? So we definitely first need to be able to get everyone on the same page first. Agree? So moving on, a little bit about the features of social intranet. Obviously, we know it is a productivity catalyst. Why? Because it simplifies your workflow for you, right? It is able to park all communication in one space. So indefinitely, you see us saving space. You see, there's lesser information overload, and in this case, we can efficiently, right? If we can say that, we can efficiently avoid miscommunications. Okay, so couple of features that I especially like here. One of my personal favorite is the announcement as well as the post, right? These are great ways of dishing out immediate news as well as important updates, right? Also a great alternative, in fact, to tackle your email lags. Okay, sometimes we have the email lags because we kind of like overlook certain things, right? But in this case, everything is parked neatly in a sense, right? So one thing I want to point out here is when your company expands and when your team grows, you need to also further your reach. So this, in a sense, keep everyone in the view of what's happening and what will be happening, right? You can also say that your announcements also pretty much allow you to lay out the communication scope, right? In a sense, like lay out the parameters of the task as well. So super great way to involve everyone, but most of all, keep them in view of what's happening. So we also have town hall. You might be wondering, hey, how is our town hall different from our announcements? Okay, this usually happens at a company level or organization level, right? It's one of the great ways to be able to talk to large group of audiences, right? You can basically feature, for example, subject matter expert within your company to connect with your employees, right? So in a sense, this promotes transparency because obviously conversation flows. You get to see everything, and when you have this sort of connection, right? You definitely boost the morale. Okay, it is important to boost the morale of teams. So when we talk about unifying teams, it's not just bringing communication together, not just bringing materials together, but also bringing your teams together closer, just building that relationship and that rapport. So it's a great way to understand your goals and value of a company. Okay, we also have our manuals. Now, where do manuals come in? They are also known as our online knowledge base, okay, aka also known as the content management system, right? Most information parked here are basically on demand. Your staff can basically come in their own time, do certain revision. And now if you have important updates and documents, you can also post it here, and immediately your staff is able to come to this portal to look through the material to familiarize themselves with the company and its procedures. Okay, so moving on. Quick chat. You might be wondering, hey, how come you have the amazing features, really like announcement posts, manuals, things like that, and you still want a quick chat? There will be occasion that we, kind of miss out on things, right? We tend to overlook. So chats are actually a great way to bring in, discussions to your team, right? Actually bring materials and bring important discussions to park it right in front of your team, right? So you get to execute tasks with urgency. So this again is a very helpful feature to come in and complement with the existing features that we already have. So also on task boards, right? This we talk about unifying team. We cannot omit the fact that we need to be able to work on documents together. We need to be able to be in the process together, okay, from end to end. So this is the task board itself is especially an area to give you a centralized place to basically manage, your work plan. Okay, it can be your team project, to your to-do list. You get to also filter, the assigned tasks, priority levels, things like that. A lot of interesting features that we get to share later on in the demo, right? So personal experience is this: rather than just checking off, our personal notepad, which is a very manual process. Okay, using this board, leveraging this itself, you essentially get to share the collaboration phase, right, with your colleagues. So you get to see the project journey, the task journey from end to end. And with that being said, you cannot miss anything. Okay. Last but not least, we have our files. It is a central repository, right? Basically, you have to have your members access similar contents, similar documents in a single place, right? If we talk about unified collaboration. So in this case, this is also a super helpful repository to get work started in a contextual manner. So finally, to the live demo, the interesting part of today, I will be talking a little bit of how we can use these various features, right? These various points here to streamline our communication via these various modes, right? So we get to run personalized engagement, how we coordinate materials as well, and things like that. But before that, I do want to point out, these days we are essentially talking about how we can bring work to us. So obviously from the screen, you see 4 illustrations, you got your company, you got your groups, essentially you need to be able to bring, your group and company documents and announcements to you. And on top of that, to supplement things, you got to be able to also bring your tasks and projects as well as events, whether it's an internal event or an external one, you need to bring them to you. So we talk about unifying things. So essentially, you must be able to bring these tasks to kind of complement one another, right? And before we dive into the demo, I do want to introduce a character here. His name is Adam, right? Adam happens to be the PR guy. He manages PR as well as teaches PR and marketing as a module in one of the institutes. In the institute he's working with, in fact, right? So as you can see from his JD, Adam himself clearly works with various stakeholders in this case. So we put ourselves in the shoe of Adam, right? If we do not have a proper management portal or communication portal to streamline things, essentially things can go haywire, can go out of hand. Okay, so how do we then manage collaboration, right? We will look at that in our demo now. So let me just quickly share my screen. And I will need someone to acknowledge that this is up. Can you see my screen? If you can, do leave a yes in the chat box. Good, huh? Okay. Great. Okay, so moving on. Let's go into the demo. Okay, going to Connect portal. This is the UI we will see. A beautiful page here, right? So we talk about being able to streamline communication, being able to bring together collaboration. We do want to look at, the various modules over here in the left-hand panel that can help us achieve that, okay, and achieve the objective of unifying team. So having said that, let's quickly take a look at the feeds first, right? In which is the page we are looking at right now. So going to my feeds, basically this is a curated view of, real-time updates and information from the company, right, directed at Adam. So clearly you see Nicholas here from the external agency has tagged Adam in a post to run, feedback sessions like such. Adam gets to interact with the post. And moving on, Adam do get to post his own forums, which also appears in this personalized feed as well. So apart from just interacting with, the content here, as well as just, looking at a brief glance of, okay, what things are here, Adam also get to create his own discussion, right? So how do we do that? Simply mouse over this, right? Click in the chat box, and immediately we are given a couple of options to run our communication mode. Okay, we see asking questions, announcements, and posts. So let's just ask a quick question to gather a quick feedback about, the year-end examinations. Okay, so we can simply type in the title here. Remember to add in details, right? We go with hi team. We are just 3 months away from the year-end exams. Let's get together. Say Tuesday. Okay, so once you got the message in, right, you sign off and make sure you post these to the right channel. Now we talk about managing communication from one portal, but still being able to direct it at the various channel, right? This is the place to go to. You get to see, a couple of drop downs. Obviously, you get to post on a Companywall, which is accessible by everyone within the network. And you also get to, highlight this news in the closed group, which again is only accessible by invited lists only. So in this case, this is a company announcement. Let's go with the Companywall, click share, and this goes out in real time. Now I'm going to show you how it looks like in the Companywall. So just quickly toggling to the wall here. There you go. Okay, at the top, right at the top in real time, right? So just a brief, example of how things looks like when you're interacting with the post. You get to like them, get to select various emojis to do so, adding in comments if you would like, and things like that. Now in Adam's case, because he is the content curator himself, he gets to look at the read receipt, right? Basically, who has viewed the article or the announcement. In this case, it's just Adam himself. So it's just a great way to look at, communication pattern as well when we are looking at unifying teams. So going back to his own personalized feed, Adam too get to run announcements. Okay, I'm just going to show you an example of how we can do an announcements right here. So bringing back, I don't want to bring back a school newsletter. Now this is directed at the company. Okay, so let's come up with an announcement. What's on this? Okay, but even though this is directed at the company, right, there are certain departments that we want to tag to make sure that this is more directed at them, right? It's more specific. Okay, so in this case, because this is a newsletter, we'll go with the marketing team. Of course, you get to add, the various other groups that you have, as you can tell from here. So let's go with marketing here. Okay, I've selected the company wall to go out on, and you basically get to pin this announcement at the top to a preferred date. So once done, click share, it's out. Beautiful, straightforward. Okay, again, this goes out in the company wall. Now, last but not least, I do want to talk about an interesting item here, which is starting a poll. So polls are especially great ways to manage your company's pulse or your team's pulse, right? Basically to get the feedback of a certain project or task at hand. So understand their likings and how we can move tasks ahead. So in this case, let's run a post because we are approaching year end, right? We know team camaraderie is super important. Let's just hold a year end staff outing. Okay, let's use the title staff only outing. Hi team, please pick the activities of choice. Okay, right? So we are going to run a couple of activities to build the teamwork here. So let's go with, for example, paintball as the first activity. You got your soccer as the next, and probably treasure hunt as the last, right? So of course, to not make the poll so dry and wordy, you get to insert images as well. So simply, select image of choice and attach them, and you're good to go. So in this case, I'm going to keep things simple. I'm going to post this in our class group, right? So let's talk about Faculty of Art and Design. That is the group I want this to go out in. Once I click share, it goes out in the group. Of course, you'll see this in the personalized feed. So get things started, Adam can basically select the post, and as you can tell, the result is as shown. Okay, so there's one upvote for this. Clearly, the votes is anonymous, so it kind of protects your team identity as well as to make things a little bit more objective. So moving on, we have touched on the various communication modes. I think the feeds itself, as we mentioned, being able to bring news to you is a great way to also understand things, because we also have a couple of curated announcements at the site and events like this. So this is just like a navigation of the view over here. So let's move on to something more important. We talk about Companywall. Again, the user interface remains the same, right? In terms of how you interact with feeds, how you go out with the posts and whatnot. I do want to highlight a couple of things here, right? So as your team grows, right, because your Companywall can also be termed as a enterprise social networking platform, right? As your team grows, you need to be able to add moderator, right? You need to be able to empower your teams with the various roles, right? So how do we do that? Simply click in the settings icon, and we are given the basics and advanced setting of things, right? We come to the permission, and we can create, access and allow, curation of posts only by certain individuals. So everything is very well controlled over here. Again, we talk about empowering team, but not to say that we're becoming taskmasters, but at least you get to maneuver and you click the selected respective roles to make sure the right team members have the right roles and responsibility, right? So you also need to have moderation, okay? Moderating posts that is going out. So as your team grows, you want your content to be very crisp and clear. So, right, you need to make sure you communicate the right stuff to your team members. Okay, so having said that, that is the way you go about settings. Now we want to talk about adding new members to the club. So simply click the new member icon. Again, you get to pull this over from the current existing user database, right, which consists of company members. You also get to invite external guests as well. All you have to do is, insert email here, select the access level given by them, and they can pretty much get involved with the task at hand, right? So it's a super way, instead of just going to WhatsApp and creating an extra group, you can basically invite everyone in this one portal to get a granular view of things. So finally, moving on to our groups. We mentioned groups earlier on. Groups are basically, only accessible to invited members, right? You got to create the various group of choice here. Obviously, you got your interest groups, you got your business groups here. In this case, we want to talk about how we can create a group. There are two options. One, go to the bottom left. Otherwise, you can also click on the top right-hand corner, which is what I'm going with, right? Click on the plus icons, you fill in the details of choice, right? I'm going with a reading club. You get to insert pictures as well, description. But more importantly, I want to talk about the access level over here. Now, putting private access would have mean that only group members is able to access this. Now, doing this public, okay, otherwise this is only this will be accessible to all network members. Okay, so everyone from the company will be able to look at the content posted here. But that defeats the purpose. I will be keeping this and keeping things private. Okay, so having said that, you select your team members of choice and you are good to go, right? So creating a channel for this group. Now the channel is a whole new demonstration altogether. With that being said, it is powered by Zoho Click, a real-time messenger app over here, right, where you run discussions, just like your messengers. Okay, the day-to-day consumer messenger app that you use, you get to use that here as well, but for business settings. So once you're done and check the respective options, you click create and you're good to go. So let's use a group as an example. Let's take a look at PR agencies, right? Once again, everything remains the way you run, the interactions, you know it, right? So do take note, anything posted here only remains within the group. So this is a great way to have private conversations, right? Otherwise, you go to your Companywall to post it, which is pretty much accessible by everyone of the network level. So again, if you post anything here, it's only going to appear here. Simple as that, right? So that is the group for you, right? On how you can streamline things and run internal communications only to respective and selected members. So we want to move on to channels. So what are your channels? We talk about channels being real-time messenger app. Clearly, you get to launch them from within the tab itself. You get three streamlined views of things. You get to compare, communication side by side, which is highly important, right? Because there could be some referencing work to do as well for this. And basically, in the channels, as you can see, there's some interesting content going on, like screenshots, running important document links with the team immediately, right? We talk about bringing materials and parking it right in front of your team members. You need to be able to do that in today's day and age. So it is achievable by this. And you also get to run invitations, which is pretty much like reminders to your team and bring important prioritized event to your team. So super useful way to have this within the portal itself. Now we talk about creating channel, and this being powered by Zoho Click. So you can tell by clicking the add channel icon, it's going to redirect us to Zoho Click here. And we are immediately given these options of creating a company level channel or chat communication room, right? Obviously, this is accessible by everyone. You can also limit it to only selected members, right? You get to create personal chat rooms, right? Which again, this is only by invite, where you add in your external parties to communicate with external stakeholders, right? So once you fill in the details, click create channel and the channel gets created. I'm just going to launch a couple of examples here to showcase how we can immediately, talk to team members. So let's say we have an upcoming meeting, right? Hi team, we have a very important meeting next week, and we have a quick big call now in 10 minutes, right? In 10 minutes, once done, you click share. Every member would have received this message. Okay, super way to pretty much keep everyone in view of what's happening. They get to interact by adding emojis, providing feedbacks, and replying here. Now, I think more importantly, you want to be able to set reminder, right? It kind of keeps everyone in view of what's happening. So you want to remind 15 minutes before call, all right? Or maybe 2 minutes. No, in this case, it's not going to be a reminder because the call happens in 10 minutes, but you have a call happening at 2 at the top. You can also create reminder. I'm just going to show you an example, 15 minutes before call. Right, set the time and where you want this reminder to appear, you click create and it's done. Right, you get reminded within this chat. So superb way of communicating with everyone at a go. You can also do so within this portal here. Now, finally, moving on to the more important things, right? The task here is something that I really want to talk about. We talk about this being a project pipeline. This is a great way to see everything in one view, right? In a singular view. So obviously what we see here is a Kanban view of things. One example I want to point to is the work from home scenario, having a notification board at the office, right? We used to have that physical board where we post our post-its and then we drive a thumbnail through it. Now we are not able to do so. So being in a home setting, this kind of emulates a digital version of that and is especially helpful, right, to keep everyone in view of what's happening. So we talk about creating boards. Okay, I just want to navigate you through this first. Creating a board is basically the base where you can park the various task cards over here. So you can see the color-coded sections. These are called your sections, pretty much to hold your task in place, right? So what we have here is how we can create new boards. So let me just show you how to create a new board. Okay, simply click on that. You can select template to begin with. I usually like to keep things from scratch because I believe projects are in itself unique in its own sense. So key in the details of the project. So creating website, description of this. Now associating this board with a group would have meant that, right, you are parking all group members under this board. Is a great way to bring them and draw them to this important project that you are working on. So in this case, if there's a project like creating a website, I definitely want the web team to be included as part of this. Otherwise, you can also select the group of choice. Once done, you click create, and this goes out live over here in the left-hand panel. Now to get started with section also, how are you going to create sections? You click the plus icon here. Now again, we talk about section being your different phases over here. You got HTML, you got your content, design, and then a soft launch in creating a school website, right? So the last phase, of course, is going live. So let's create that section. Going live, let's keep everything capital. Click enter, and a new section is created. Now to put a task within it, again, you get to click the plus icon here to create that. Otherwise, you can also do this and then map the task accordingly to the various selected sections. Okay, so let's go with creating one within the section board. So let's say task detail is Adam in DRI. That's an example. Okay, to add in more details, right, like the preview of what we can see, the task description over here, simply click into the task, right? You get to add in important notes such as, this. Now make sure you assign this to the right member, right? So when you have done so, click on the unassigned task. It's going to drop down, the assignees. Now these are all members that I've associated this task board with, right? So in this case, Hojin has been tagged. So I'm going to put Hojin here. Immediately you see, all activities are already immediately reflected within this drop down, right? So it gives you a quick singular view, keeps everyone in view, bring the context to the project. So when people revisit this, you won't be lost. You can immediately pick up the task and move things ahead that immediately. Okay, so of course you get other options here: creating start dates, due dates, and setting reminders for this as well as the important priorities. Whether this is going to be a high priority task because deadline is nearing, right? So in this case, I'm going to keep it at none. So I think these are all good ways to help us filter the tasks later on. When your team come into this board, they want to filter tasks they want to clear by next week. They're able to do so by either priority level or the date set here. Okay, so you also get to comment within tasks as well to kind of give more thoughts and feedbacks on it, right? So it's a great way to really keep things in view over here. Another thing I want to point to is sometimes your team members, we have that sort of team members, right, who don't read notification. So what you can do here, if is this task a task that you want to be seen by him? If yes, you click on the three dot icons, you copy the task URL, and you copy the unit URL, you can immediately launch and paste it in the Messenger app over here, right? Your channels. So if you want to run this with Ho, send it to her, click send. Once done, it's out there. Please clear this. Okay, so that's it with creating bots and your tasks and parking everything neatly in a singular view. Okay, we want to talk another thing about running discussions at the company level, which is your town hall session. Okay, this is a great way to promote a very transparent conversation. As you can see, we have run a couple of town halls already. I'll just talk about how we can create a new one. Click on the create new town hall, right? Enter the session name. So in this case, you want to go with a marketing Q&A. You want to run a town hall on marketing, and we insert the description. It Ronnie on our new marketing campaigns. Okay, so once you key in the detail, you get to select when your sessions want to start. You can immediately launch this. Otherwise, you can also schedule it for a later date, which I'll go with the 13th. I'll set it at a feasible time, such as 2:30 p.m. So once done, there you go, it's created. Okay, who can attend this session? I will allow everyone within the network to do so. We can also select specific groups. Okay, add your panelists. Don't forget this, right? You got to add Ronnie or add the respective guys. I'm going with a random one here, right? And because this is just going to be a small discussion, I will allow all participants to ask questions here, right? You can uncheck this if you would not like this option. Once done, you click schedule. There you go. You can also start the session now immediately, right? You see the options over here. So let's go with this for demo purpose. We have started the sessions, and basically invited members will be able to ask questions, right? So let's go to our ongoing sessions and show you how we can start asking questions. So Adam is going to come in to ask questions such as, okay, and you can choose to add in details as well as create attachments. I'm just going to keep it simple. Click ask, right? So immediately you see the question being asked here. You get to vote, incoming members who was invited to be part of this Q&A will get to vote, according to how they like the questions. They can even provide answers, over here. All right, so it's really just a great way to keep everyone in view of things. And we talk about promoting transparency, right? And bring your teams together to boost morale. This is the way to go. So I pretty much come to the end of today's demo. I would like to hand the time back to Ku. But before that, I'm opening the floor to questions. If you have any, I'll be happy to, talk about them.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. I think you've covered a lot of the content that's very useful in unifying teams.
Right. So maybe I'll hand the time back to Ku if there are no further questions, and Ku, back to you.
Sure, thank you so much. You can keep questions coming because in Showtime there's a questions tab where we can also answer your questions while the presentation is ongoing.
Right.
Great. It seems that I'm still not the trainer yet, but at least you can hear my voice. So getting started, if your team size is less than 25, you'll be able to use Zoho Connect for free. So this is what the free edition offers. And if you are a current existing user for Zoho Workplace Professional Edition, all users of Zoho One, do activate Connect because it's part of your package. So for future sales inquiries, do write to us, do contact us at sales@zohocorp.com, and questions are still coming in. We still can have some questions. If we don't have questions, maybe I'd like to invite you all to follow us on our social media for more news and updates.